So I will start. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce a tycoon of business development, a familiar face from your TV screens, a woman who's been named on Times' 35 most successful women under the age of 35.
That was a while ago.
It's very, very impressive.
Yeah.
An expert amongst hospitality brands with global reach, not to mention multi-honoured doctorate from Oxford Brookes, Cranfield and Staffordshire universities, and of course, most importantly, mother of four. It put us in awe when we read this list out. I'm welcoming Sarah Willingham.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our
I'm
pleasure.
Excited, really, really excited to see you again and to talk to you both.
Brilliant. Anything else you want to add to that list that we missed out?
No.
Was it all good?
Actually, it's so funny when it gets read out. Like it always shocks me somehow.
Yeah.
I think, what, really?
Well, there's a lot you're juggling on your plate there.
Did I do all of that?
Honestly,
Yeah.
yeah. Crazy. Anyway, to kick us off, so as I kind of alluded to earlier, a lot of people here that are our audience are aspiring to start a business, kick on hopefully in 2026 and make a business name for themselves. And it would be really interesting to get a little bit of an insight into your journey as to where you kind of started and how you've led to where you are now. We're currently in the i360 tower. And if you could tell us a little bit about that as well, that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny thing because I didn't grow up thinking I must be an entrepreneur. I think, I was saying to you earlier, nowadays, I think it's much cooler and much more accessible to become an entrepreneur, certainly than it was, 35 years ago or whatever. But I was always fascinated in business, always. Like that was clearly my path. And even though I wasn't surrounded by people in business at all, and didn't have necessarily anybody around me that was inspiring me or had their own business, but actually I was always fascinated by why we were all interested in the same brands, why we shopped at the same places, why, we sang the same advert songs in our head, it was clearly there was the world of commerce really, I found really, really interesting. So when I didn't do very well at school at all, just didn't find my thing at all, did badly in my A-levels, but really wanted to study business. That was my thing. And actually my dad had not let me take a gap year and I really wanted to travel. That was like my drive. And I wanted to do a course at uni where I could study business, so I could learn all the different aspects of business, not specialise, because frankly I didn't know the difference between marketing and finance as I went into it at all. But where I could study business, but also that I could go and live abroad. That was like a real thing for me. I lived in Stoke and I just wanted to kind of get out, actually. I love Stoke, love Stokies. All my best mates are Stokies. Cool. But I definitely, I wanted to get out and see the world. Yeah. And there was an amazing course at Oxford Brookes. Amazing course, actually. It was 2 years in the UK where you did like a 3-year degree in 2 years. And then you went to France for 2 years, did loads of work experience, also studied, but got a degree in 2 years. Brilliant. Right up my street. Anyway, long story short, I actually got rejected when I applied, managed to talk my way into it, and through a lot of luck and a lot of phone calls, even though I did really badly in my A-levels, they accepted me, which was actually an amazing thing when I got my doctorate there, but I can tell you about that another time. But anyway, so actually did a lot of work experience whilst I was doing my uni course, and was definitely in the right place. Like I had found my thing. Business was the way my mind worked. I really enjoyed it. I liked the cleverness of it. I'm a problem solver, and I liked constantly being surrounded by challenges. I now think, God, I almost wish I'd never said that out loud 35 years ago, because I have constantly been surrounded by challenges ever since. But I do like solving problems, and business, actually, that is what you're doing. You're solving problems. And I like growth. I really enjoy it. Still at this point, no interest in having my own business, not even a thought of having my own business. I wanted to learn. And that's what I did after uni. I had loads of great work experience at uni, went and worked on the Paris Stock Exchange, worked for AXA Insurance, worked in a bar. See where it goes. And had lots of different work experience and really, really enjoyed it. And then actually through the job in the bar, it was very cool at that point to go and work in the city. Like everybody wanted to go and work in the city. And I'd got a job lined up with SBC Warburg, it was at the time. And that's what I was going to do after uni. But during my course, because I was living in France, I'd had to do loads of work experience. And I just, without boring you with all the details, but I was working in a pub, basically, called the Frog and Roast Beef, in Paris on a Sunday afternoon. And the people who were doing the opening of the first Planet Hollywood, which that Planet Hollywood was cool one day, promise.
Yeah.
It was. The people who were doing the opening were really, really struggling with the Americans and the French. It just wasn't working. Culturally, they were having an absolute nightmare. The site was never going to open on the Champs-Élysées. And they asked the founders of that business if they could just do, one of them could do a 3-month secondment and help them out. And to this day, I'm so grateful, but they just said no. But actually, there's this girl who works on a Sunday afternoon. You should speak to her.
Wow.
And they did. And then that's what I ended up doing for 3 months. And I found my thing. I just loved it. And I ended up staying at Planet Hollywood for years. Then I went to Pizza Express, really enjoyed it there. And during my time at Pizza Express, again, still not intending to have my own business, but during my time at Pizza Express, learned a lot. And actually, towards the end of it, I was going to leave because I did a lot of international expansion because I still wanted to travel. So I was traveling all over the world, opening these Pizza Expresses, and it was brilliant. And I learned a ton of stuff about all aspects of business. Because when you land in another country and you have to set up a business, you have to learn everything from, registering for VAT, the equivalent of, to the rules and the laws on hiring people, to sourcing the food, to the pricing, to the marketing, everything. You have to learn the entire business. So it was a really, really good place for me to learn the whole lot. And when I came back, I realized that they were not that bothered about international expansion. And also I had a dream of being a mom. Like, I was still in my 20s, still hadn't met my husband, but I did really want to be a mom. And I realized I couldn't continue to work at the pace I was working at, 3 different countries in a week, and have kids. So I was like, actually, I need to change direction, but I love what I'm doing here. So I went to the board at Pizza Express and said, look, this whole international development, it's not for you. I can see it's not core business. It's also not for me. And they said, well, don't leave. Come and work for us. And I then shared an office, probably the most impactful year of my career, work life. And I shared an office with the CEO.
Wow.
And a guy called David Page is founder of, he went on to found Frank Manca and lots of other different businesses. And during the course of that year, I learned what he did. It wasn't my job, but I shared an office with him, and I must have driven him insane with the amount of questions that I asked him. But by the end of it, it broke down the kind of myth that I had created, that I was Sarah the Small from Stoke and everybody else was really, really clever. And this business thing that they all did was really, really clever. Yeah. And that was for just really, really clever people. Yeah. And there's no way I was ever going to do it. And spending that year with him, by the end of it, I was like, oh my God, I actually get what you do. I really understand the simple replicable business model that you've created. I understand why you use debt when you use debt. I understand why you're a public business, so you're a PLC. I understand how you manage your relationships with your shareholders, why you've structured the way that you've structured. When you go and raise more equity, how you raise more equity. So all of that sort of financial structuring side and the legal corporate structure of a business, which so many people overlook and don't realize that it is the foundation of a business. Yeah. You can set 1,000 businesses up. One of them gets set up right. That's the one that will work. For sure. And I learned all of that, and then learned how he ran the business of having hundreds of sites all over the UK. And I was like, oh my God, I can do this myself. And actually realized that if I did want to be a mom, I needed to control my diary. Yeah. That was the thing for me. It wasn't, and I wanted to make some money as well. That was important because that was going to give me some level of freedom that I'd never had before. But also I wanted to control my diary. And that was when I thought, I'm going to do this myself. And that was a very, very long answer to a little bit, give me a little bit about a journey. But that's how I became what we now call an entrepreneur. That's how I ended up going on my own. And I learned so much in my 20s from being surrounded by great people and learning what they did. And then I found my thing. And that's what I said, right, I'm going to have the largest chain of Indian restaurants in the UK. That's my goal. That's what I want to do. It's the same business model as Pizza Express. Go and do it. And that's what I did.
Wow. I mean, I'm quite interested. So you had that moment of realization, what your journey was going to take, and maybe how you felt like that characteristic within yourself was going to take form over the next few years. In terms of probably skipping forward in the journey, how has that brought you to here with the i360, and like what's the vision there in terms of over the next few years?
So, you know, I did have the largest chain of Indian restaurants, did succeed, did manage to do that, then sold it. Realizing that actually 4 kids, 4 and under, and 1,500 staff was not the best mixture in the world. And ended up doing a little bit of investing and more kind of portfolio work rather than lots of people relying on me getting up in the morning. Did Dragon's Den, fast forward. And then came to COVID and I was done, to be honest. Like I was like loving having chair roles, loving having my investments. I thought I'm not going to start another business again. And then my husband was, who I work with, he was like, we've got another gig in us. I was like, have we really? Yes, we have. And so during COVID, we started a business called Nightcap. Now has 44 venues across the UK. So we've gone from startup to just over 60 million turnover in 4 and a bit years.
That is incredible.
It's been so hard though. Like it's brutal out there at the moment for hospitality. So it has been really difficult. But anyway, here we are. And the i360 was a really random addition.
Interesting.
But a very welcome one. We love our tower. I live in Brighton and I can see the i360 out of my bedroom window. And when it went into administration a year ago now, so it was just before Christmas last year, so 2024, we got a phone call like we do when businesses in hospitality go into administration. You do, like at the moment, the Pier's up for sale. There's other businesses in our industry. Like you just get the phone call along with another 150 people probably. Yeah. And I was like, no, why would we want, no, I don't want to do anything on my doorstep. I love my anonymity in Brighton and that would not be anonymous. And it was a very controversial asset because they used public money to fund it, and it was a lot of money, and there was a lot of debt attached to the i360. So it had a really controversial standing within the community of Brighton. And I was like, anyway, Merlin will buy it because it's basically the London Eye, but just one big pod that goes up and down instead of going round. Or Brighton Pier Group will buy it because they've got the pier. Definitely somebody else will buy it. And anyway, we were on holiday. It did go into administration, and we didn't think anything more of it. And then when we got back, we got another phone call saying, actually, nobody's come forward to bid on it. Will you look at it? And we were like, well, nobody is going to come forward to bid on it with all that debt associated with it. It's just not going to happen. It's a hard enough business to run as it is. But the reason it went into administration actually wasn't because of the number of people that were going up and down at the tower, because there's plenty of them and that's great. Partly they hadn't activated all of the hospitality around it, but also because the amount of debt that they had to repay every year was astronomical. And actually, certainly my experience over the last, I've done quite a lot of administrations, bought businesses out of administration over the last 5 years. And over the last couple of decades, the businesses that I've seen go into administration, it's pretty much always the balance sheet. It's rarely the P&L. Of course, cash flow, but that's often related to the balance sheet. So it's often related to the debt structure, the amount of debt that has to be paid back. So it's all stuff that's kind of below the line on the P&L that you don't see that results in businesses going bust. And that's what had happened here. So if you could take away if you kind of restructure the balance sheet, actually you had a pretty solid P&L. Anyway, I still was like, no. And then my kids were coming home going, Mama, it's going to be dismantled. What? I was like, that's so crazy. That would be real failure for Brighton, actually. Because no matter how controversial it is, I think it would be a disaster if it had to be.
It's very iconic for this area.
I mean, it brings people into the city. It's a talking point. It's in the middle of the prom. You know, you've got the Portslade down one end, you've got Sea Lanes down the other end. This is slap bang in the middle, and there isn't actually anything else here. So you need something here that brings people into this part of the promenade. And so many local businesses rely on its success, actually. I was like, well, that would be an absolute disaster. So I said, right, let's have a meeting with the council. Although the administrators were in charge, as they always are in administration. But anyway, yeah, here we are.
I see.
Here
I
we
mean,
are.
tracing some of our steps, I wanted to go back to something that has stuck with me for the last 6 months since we met. So we had the pleasure of meeting on Simon Squibb's channel 6 months ago now.
Yeah.
And something that's really stuck with me since, and I did want to kind of tick your brain on this. You asked me a question that was, what would you do with £1 million?
Yes.
And for me, it was hilarious because before that day, I was watching a lot of Simon Squibb's content. He was giving away 10,000 or 5,000, 2,000. I had every one of those answers lined up, ready to go. And then you hit me with the £1 million, and I froze, and I didn't know what to say. And I'm trying to gain from you, what do you look to gain from that question out of a potential founder, potential entrepreneur?
Yeah.
As well as, I'm actually quite intrigued to hear what you would do with £1 million now.
So it's such a great question. Somebody asked it to me about 20 something years ago, and it's never left me. I always ask everybody when it's relevant. I always ask that question, and the reason is because if you know what you're going to do with £1 million, you've nailed your business model.
I see.
You have it, because it means that you know exactly what your return on investment is. So if I had £1 million today, I know I could spend it on a number of things, but I know exactly what I would give you back from that £1 million, because I have my business model. I know if I open, let's say I open a Piano Works, which is one of our brands, and that would cost, let's say, £1 million, I will make that back in the first year from that brand.
Wow.
So I also know if I spent £1 million on marketing, how much I would get back in terms of bookings. So it's really important, because quite often people talk in, certainly in startups, and people are looking for investment. And actually, most of the time I talk them out of it, actually, and say, you don't need investment. You just need to sell something, actually. You just need to get going. And you think you need investment, but really it's an excuse for not getting going. So just get going and don't worry about the investment. And the longer you can hold off getting the investment, in my opinion, the better. Not forever, obviously. And some businesses do need money quickly and up front. But it's the proof of the concept. And when somebody offers you £1 million, you've proved your concept. You know what you're going to do with it. If you're like, well, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that, I'm going to try the other, I'm going to hire these people, I'm going to do that. That £1 million could just be washed away in a month, right? But if you know your business, you know exactly what you're going to do with that. And the clarity of that answer is a really good way of attracting investment, because it means you know what you're going to do with it.
Yeah. I like that a lot. And I think that's good insight for us as well as the audience watching. It's just making sure you've nailed on that business model so you know exactly what you're doing. And I think one thing that probably gets overlooked quite a lot when it comes to business, because people perceive it as being quite glorified in a way. You see the cars, the suits, the revenue, the profits.
Yeah.
But what would you say is something that's probably unsexier to the business world that really does help kind of drive growth when you're looking to scale a business?
I mean, to be honest, most of it's unsexy.
Yeah.
I mean, I was trying to think of which bit's the sexy bit, actually, is what
Well,
I was actually trying to think of. Yeah.
It's more from, I guess, a social media point of view. You've got a lot of youngsters out there who will be looking on Instagrams, TikToks, seeing all the cars, seeing the luxury lifestyle, but they don't really understand perhaps the effort that goes behind it.
Yeah. So the reality is being an entrepreneur it's a slog. And it's really lonely. And I don't think a lot of people talk enough about how hard it is, actually. You've got to be a particular type of person to be a successful entrepreneur. Of course, there are outliers and luck, et cetera, but half of it's luck anyway. But and the reason I say it's lonely is because ultimately it's going to come down to you.
Yeah.
You can hire as many great people as you like, but they ain't losing sleep in the way that you are. You need to have a level of self-drive that will get you out of a hole. So I always talk about it as if you've got like a sort of backpack with a little propeller on your back, because you're going to fall into loads of holes.
Yeah.
And, you know, the idea of, you know, people who are listening to this or people who surround themselves with great people is that you fall into fewer holes than you would, because actually the holes are pretty much the same for most businesses regardless. But let's assume you're still going to fall into some holes because everybody does. Who's going to get you out that hole?
Yeah.
It's you. And you've got to dig deep, and it's tough, and you've got to be resilient. It's not easy, and that little propeller has got to go off, and you've got to get back up, and you've got to stand up, and you've got to be optimistic again, and you've got to be driven, and you've got to find that grit inside you to keep propelling forward. And the people, I think, often who are the most successful have the most resilience. They have tenacity like you've never seen. They just keep going. They pick themselves up. They dust themselves off, and they just get on with it. And very, very, very little can break them. And that's the bit that it's so hard to explain unless you've experienced it. But it is so hard, and you need grit, and you need to be tough. And you know, sometimes the last man standing or the last person standing is actually just the most resilient, not necessarily the person who's got the best business model. Actually, that's quite often.
True. Yeah. And I feel like that resilience probably grows from something that you love doing. So if you're not in it, or your heart's not in it in the right place, you probably don't have that resilience to keep grinding it out.
100%. There is no way you can keep that propeller going and that drive going unless you actually really enjoy what you do.
Definitely.
You know, those... You've got to find your motivation has to come from somewhere pretty deep, I think. And, you know, there's a lot of people I meet that have decided to become entrepreneurs. And I just think it's not for you, love. It really isn't. You know, you need to partner up with somebody or work closely with somebody, but you need to be part of a team. You're going to find this difficult to keep picking yourself up because you're too fragile. And that's okay, by the way. Not everybody can be made of steel, right? And we're not. But that resilience is so critical to the success, especially during tough times, of which there will be many. Yeah. You know, guaranteed, unless you have I was going to say unless you have a big overnight success, because nothing is an overnight success. Everything is being worked on really, really, really hard. Yeah. And I think when you are the CEO and the founder, you kind of get the distillation of all of the really tough stuff, because the reality is it comes to you because, let's say you've got a team, because your team haven't been able to sort it. So you only get the really big problems. Yeah. You know, so it's like, that's why people say, you know, it's like chewing on glass. And it is at times, because you actually get all the distillation of all of the really difficult things, because you as the CEO is the only person, or the founder, that can solve that very difficult problem. So you don't get all the nice fluffy stuff, because everybody else can deal with that. That's really easy. Yeah. That's the nice bit. Yeah. You just get the hard bit. And so that's again why the resilience is so key. So that's definitely the unsexy bit, you know.
No, it's brilliant that you say that. I mean, when I look back a couple of years ago thinking about starting this journey, loved the rest of the lads group chat to bits, but there was only one lad that I thought has resilience enough to be in this journey, and it's him, without a doubt. And Tom came into the process later in that, and we knew instantly from early conversations that Tom had like a level of grit that was going to get through maybe not being the business success story overnight and being in it for the long run. I love the boys to bits, I will say that. But it's interesting because you've picked your husband throughout this whole journey that you've been in. And at some stage you were working together, and that turned into a relationship. And we've had people say to us, oh, it's not good to do business with your mates or business with your family or business with your partner or so on and so forth. But you've done that quite interestingly, and you've seen that resilience in him. I'm quite interested to hear where that took like shape and how you thought that this was going to work as kind of like a partnership going ahead into other businesses that you've got?
Yeah, I think, everybody comes up with all these rules, right? Like, don't work with your partner, or, make sure you don't phone until the third date, or don't move in together until 9 months and 13 days or whatever. I'm like, what? Who made this stuff up? It's so individual, is the honest answer. It's so individual, and only you know what is right for you. It really works for us. There is now nobody I could do what I do with other than Michael. There really isn't, actually. He is brilliant.
No, that's brilliant.
Sometimes it's an absolute bloody nightmare to live with him as well.
So often on that work life.
But he's brilliant. He's really clever, and he's very, very good at the stuff that, even though we understand each other's world, he's very, very good at the stuff that I'm not so good at. And vice versa, which is brilliant, really, really great. But fundamentally, we have the same values, and I think that's where, when you do partner up with somebody, you have to have the same values in your core, because if you don't, that will get challenged, I think, along the way. The rest of it, like, you've only and you've just got to make it work. I think, it is of course a risk to go into business together and to go into a marriage together and have 4 kids together. But like, in any of those 4 things are a risk individually anyway. So I'm like, I'm not quite convinced it's a bigger, is it that much of a bigger risk?
True.
So I would say, on balance, without a doubt, we're better off for it than not.
That's really nice to hear, and it sort of gives a lot of people confidence in exploring those relationships they've got as close friends and family to
For
them.
sure.
Because also they've got the same passions a lot of the time, and if they share those passions and they share that vision, and we've spoken a lot about conflict resolution, something that you will meet loads of obstacles in your business and stuff, and for that to not sort of taint your relationship with one another, because if it was somebody I didn't know and we were meeting certain obstacles, I might not be able to offer that level of trust or that level of sort of understanding of somebody else's life, whereas we've got that nailed down before we even thought about starting a business.
And it doesn't always work, right? Like, it's worked for you two here, but there's a gazillion stories where it hasn't worked. And I think you've got to be you just got to be constantly honest, constantly open, and honest in a way that even if it's brutal, you at least get that stuff off your chest, because I think if you don't, it can really eat away at you in a relationship, whether that's a friendship or a husband and wife, or father and child, or whatever it might be. You've got to have the ability to have honesty within the relationship and be able to take that feedback. There have been many times over the years when we've had to say, no, I just have to talk to you for a second. This is work. That's not okay. I didn't like that in that work environment. And then you've got to be grown up enough to be able to then know, well, actually, now we'll go to the pub and have a beer, and exactly.
No, I like that. Another thing that has spoken volumes throughout your career, and I've heard from a lot of the content that you put out, is also making yourself redundant at some stage in your business, and that's showing that it gives so much success to all the hard work that you've done. Is being able to remove yourself from the equation, and the equation still work.
My definition of success, in fact.
But something that I'm quite interested in is a lot of people nowadays speak about having to need a personal brand and utilize that with your storytelling, your marketing, your advertising, many other things. With the current landscape of starting a business for a lot of people, how could you advise on starting a business, having that faceted approach of personal branding and storytelling, but also leaving enough room to not have it self-reliant when you want to eventually make yourself redundant? Can that work?
I think, yes, it can. And I think it's a really good example, because you're right. So look at Simon, for example. Simon is Simon, right? His entire business is Simon. But there will be various elements of the business itself where other people are better at that job than he is, where he has effectively made himself redundant in areas of the business. So I think as the business grows and develops, and you, I guess you add new aspects to the business, you will need to hone in on the bit that you are exceptional at. Where's your superpower sit? Where does it lie? And it might be you need to be the front of the business. You are an exceptional marketeer, for example. but you're not great at producing the content, or you might be good at producing the content, but there are others who actually could do it as well, if not better. And I think that's the acknowledgement that you cannot grow and do it all. It's not possible, right?
Yeah.
So there are various aspects of the business that you used to do everything because you started off just you.
Yeah.
Then there's 2 of you, then there's 3 of you, then there's 4 of you, then there's 5 of you. And as time goes on, you need to be making yourself redundant from as many aspects of the business as you possibly can. So you have a much lighter touch. And frankly, you should be hiring people who are better at it than you.
Yeah.
Then you can continue to do your superpower. And your superpower is the bit that you should never really let go of. Now, it's a very different conversation if you're going, okay, this is a business I want to be in forever. So I am Stephen Bartlett. I will always do these interviews. I am Simon. I always want to be the person that is in touch with these people on the street, you know, doing what he does. That's fine. If that's the decision, that's absolutely fine. In that world, you do not want to make yourself redundant from that bit because you are the brand. You are also that is your superpower.
Yeah.
And by the way, you love it and you have no intention of leaving. If you're like, actually, I need to sell. I'm done. I want to go and live on a desert island in the middle of nowhere, and I never want anybody to speak of me again. Then you absolutely have to replace yourself with something that is simple, that is replicable without you. That if you wanted to get a big value, the underlying value that you're creating for your business, it has to be in the business, not in you.
Yeah, that's really interesting because it is most certainly a trait you almost need to have, because some people, you see it a lot, they'll have a business and it's like their baby and they can't let go of all of these jobs that they're taking on.
Yeah.
When you're looking to invest in particularly into founders, are there certain traits or other traits that you look for when you're looking to invest into that business?
Yeah, it's a good question. So when I look at an investment, I usually look at 3 things, and one of them is specifically about the founder. So I would start off by going, okay, what are they trying to sell? Like, what is this product or service that they're trying to sell? And is there a need for it? Easy question. The second is, okay, who needs it? And how do we speak to them? And that's the marketing side of it. And actually, 20 years ago, you never really looked at the marketing side of it as much. You didn't in so many businesses. It was nowhere near what it is today. When there's so much noise out there, you have got to punch. Yeah. You know, you've got to be loud. And that's a very important part of pretty much any business now, even a B2B business. It's still how you're getting through the door. And then the third one is you as an individual. What makes you the person best to start and to run this business? What sets you apart? What experience do you have? What personal qualities do you have? And then I guess as you go further down the line, you would look at it and go, right, if I was going to be an active investor in this business, can I work with you? You know, like, do you pass my Sunday dinner test? Like, would I want to actually sit and have a Sunday lunch with you and have you know, and it would be fun.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
And that's really important, I think, because you've got to be, as an entrepreneur, if you are single-minded in the sense that, like, that's my track, that's really hard, because as you go, you know, businesses, the world evolves. So you have to be open to the ebbs and flows of life and the opportunities that come left, right, and centre without actually going off track. So you have to be open-minded, not too precious. You know, you have to be able to work with other people. I mean, not everybody's the same, right? But in general, that's what I would look for.
Yeah, I mean, you've got plenty of experience of, like, kind of reading people, especially from the Dragon's Den perspective as well, seeing thousands and thousands upon pitches. I'm intrigued to see, have you ever walked away from something despite loving the idea because of the individual? And has anything come to mind maybe over your time with Dragon's Den where that's highlighted?
That's a good question. I'm terrible at remembering stuff because I just remember stuff that I don't remember anything that just didn't go well, if you know what I mean. It's like
No horror
deletes
stories.
from their heads. Yeah, exactly. But without a doubt, but it would have completely shadowed the business model. I wouldn't have even been able to listen to the business model if I didn't like somebody. I would have just switched off like that.
I see. It's those first few seconds of the pitch as well.
I just,
so
it's
crucial,
just,
isn't it?
I would have been like, nah, I cannot work with this human. For sure.
And the other people that you shared the stage with Dragon's Den, these other people, like, obviously they all shared very different mindsets towards business, but very different personality types at the same time. How did you see, obviously you were an expert amongst hospitality and you had people around you that were experts in other fields. Were there certain personality traits where you saw other people having maybe a character trait that you didn't have and that helped them in their business and their industry?
Do you mean the people pitching?
No, the people that you shared, like
the other dragons.
Yes, the other dragons. Yeah.
So do you know what was brilliant about Dragon's Den that I had not anticipated at all? I'd just not thought about it. Is it's literally like the epitome of having a great team. I mean, it was so brilliant. Like I'd gone into it, of course, not realizing just how competitive it would be between the dragons, because I just went in going, yeah, okay, this is gonna be great. Pick me. Oh no. Nobody else has said that they want. No, okay, wait. It's a competition, and I've shown my hand really, really quickly. Like, be quiet, Sarah. It's a game. But what was so brilliant, because it's not produced at all, right? Dragon's Den is. So people walk through the door, and we have not seen a thing. Like, we know nothing.
That's
it's
so cool.
properly. It's properly. It's as you see it. But if you see, let's say, a really successful pitch where you get all 5 dragons. Competing, all 5 dragons are what do you call it? Not bidding,
investing.
Yeah, they've offered, and that would get what 5 or 6 minutes of live TV, not live TV, but 5 or 6 minutes of TV. That's probably taken about 2.5 hours. Wow. So the reality is, the way that it works, because it's not at all produced, the way that it works is everybody gets an opportunity, and you ask lots of questions, you get back and forth. What was phenomenal, and I've never had at any other point in my career ever, was just, but you do still see it, you know, it's just that I see it so sector specific. I see it around my own table or around other tables, but here was 5 clever people from 5 different backgrounds, all looking at the same business, all asking completely different questions. It was brilliant. And I would sit there, that was my favourite thing about doing Dragon's Den, and I would sit there and think, oh my God, that was so smart. I would never have thought to ask that question. It was so smart. And so you would just learn so much about the business, not through the questions that I asked. I mean, I learned the stuff I needed to learn and all the questions that I would want, but I learned different sides of it with questions that some of the other dragons asked that I would never have even entered my head. It was brilliant to sit through. Like, I mean, my husband said I was an absolute nightmare to live with the whole time. I was like in 6th gear, completely wired. But it was, my brain was wonderful. Yeah. Actually, I was so sharp, and he would say too sharp because I was really wired, probably full of adrenaline. But yeah, it was just brilliant it was brilliant to sit back and watch. Yeah. It was brilliant. I mean, actually, I think to sit and watch the rushes, which is the original 2.5 hours, would be really interesting, because that's real. Yeah. It's brilliant.
I think it is brilliant, because especially when we ever have like a little problem or something, it's so important not to be closed-minded. It's almost, right, take yourself out of the picture, have a broader perspective of it, and see where you can tackle it from different angles. Yeah. And the fact that you got 5 other people from all different industries. It's incredible.
It is. So the best advice I was ever given, which was in my 20s, the guy actually still in my phone as Yoda, was surround
I know someone called a Yoda as well.
There you go.
Yeah. Mark Simmons out there.
You all need a Yoda. Everyone needs a Yoda. Was surround yourself with brilliant people. And I mean, Christ, if that's not Dragon's Den, like, I mean, you know, and that's everyday life. Yeah. And to understand the importance of having a diverse team from different industries, different backgrounds, different experiences, different genders, you know, just a different team, a team made up of different people, not a different team, a team made up of different people. then to sit and discuss and to try and solve a problem, that's when you really get to the bottom of stuff. It was, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I've really, I really feel it when I put a team together. I think, oh, you're like the Nick Jenkins in the team. I get it.
I like that. That's good. That's brilliant. So you mentioned how you kind of were done with business, you were done with being an entrepreneur, and then you came back into it.
Yeah.
And if you look nowadays in 2026, AI is the talk of the town.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, what actually got you back into entrepreneur and coming back into the world of business after
Michael,
COVID?
my husband, basically.
And then aside from that, with AI and everything,
Yeah.
what do you think genuinely excites you about business nowadays?
Yeah, what I love about business nowadays is how easy it is to start. Not easy to succeed, but frankly, it's never been easy to succeed. But it's easy to get going. And look, the economic environment that we sit in at the moment is not the best. And, I think the government have made some really big mistakes in the start of their time here, actually, really big mistakes. And I've never said that. Obviously, I'm a fierce Remainer, and I did say that about Brexit. Yeah. But our superpower in the UK is our ability to start a business really quickly with very little bureaucracy. And there's very little in our way. And everybody can be an entrepreneur. It's so easy to start something. And, so many people do that and see it as aspirational and get going. My fear is that this government's not going to help that. And I'm like, that is our superpower in the UK. Yeah. This is what we are brilliant at. Don't mess this up, because, I think that's it for me. It is the ability to be able to start something is what's so great. Yeah. It's so great. I mean, Michael, my husband's Danish. I mean, it is nowhere near as easy to start a business over there. Like the bureaucracy, really? Even just like, you can register a company a business on Companies House now and register a website is easy, right? Mm-hmm. And now they're amazing with AI tools, being able to start, like, put together an app, a website, lovable, it's insane the stuff you can do. It's so brilliant. I think it's harder to punch through because there is so much noise out there. Yeah. It's much harder to punch through. But I think the entry point, the barriers to entry are lower than they've ever been. And that's why I love the fact that you can be anybody from anywhere and you can make a real success of it. And I love that. That's what excites me the most about AI.
Yeah, another thing, from your hospitality experience, it's something that an industry as a whole, AI is making an impact there, and it's creating benefits for some businesses and breaking down barriers, as you say, but it's also putting other businesses on the back burner and potentially phasing other ones out because of their ability to kind of navigate this new demographic with AI, especially amongst hospitality. Do you envision any parts of hospitality as a whole which are going to be impacted by AI, or ways that people can utilize it for the better of them?
Yeah, so one of the things that I think with the cost of labour being what it is and getting higher, and it's become very, very expensive to hire people now. And obviously with Brexit, that whole market is much harder for us. I think there are areas where AI can get really clever, actually, in terms of replacing people as a cost within a business. Certainly the sales experience, the customer service experience, I think it can be really clever. And we've started that and successfully, actually. And that continues to grow now, that side of our business. And that's really, we're sort of 6 months in, but it's good. I also think that AI can really help with analysing numbers. I think it's really good. You just got to be careful what you put into it, because obviously it is public. And then the other thing, what I often use it for is contracts or leases. So I can compare, for example, ChatGPT can compare 2 leases for me, or 2 contracts, and say, please show me the difference between the 2. Or you might want to things like press releases or writing annual reports and all of that kind of stuff that used to take me forever because I'm not great at a blank sheet of paper, it at least gives me the start,
The prompt,
and then I can write it.
Yeah.
So for me personally, it's a complete game changer. It's made me so much more efficient.
Yeah, I can imagine time savings.
Oh my
everything,
God,
isn't it?
it's amazing.
Yeah, a little bit of a hot take here.
Yeah.
But what do you reckon in 2026 will be the businesses that start to fall?
That start to fall.
And this could be because of AI taking over. I mean, for example, back in the day, you had Blockbuster.
Yeah.
And they chose not to go down that kind
Yeah.
of media route, which obviously saw
Yeah.
them give
Yeah,
way
yeah,
to
yeah.
Netflix.
Yeah. God, that's a really, really good question. I don't know the answer to that. I'm going to have a think about that one.
Is there maybe anything that you've walked away from slightly, or you've had to adapt massively because of the changes that are coming through over the last sort of 5 years? And you just thought you couldn't envision a great future there?
Yeah, so I think there are areas that you can already see that are getting chiseled away at. So, for example, like travel advice, travel agencies, all of that kind of research that goes into it is now being taken over pretty much by ChatGPT and AI. But there's so much more to AI that I just don't know. You know, like I'm just thinking, I scratched the surface of it. I think basic legal stuff, I really think, you know, why now when I go to a lawyer, I am armed in a way that I wasn't before.
Certainly.
I've already done so much of the legwork. I still think you need, you know,
Professionals and
litigators, you need
stasis,
professionals, et cetera, et cetera. But I think a lot of the sort of basic work that involved, you know, it might have been, like we said, comparing contracts, writing reports, press releases, research, definitely research is a big one, I think. All of those that are translation, like so many translation businesses have completely gone out of business now because you literally put this in, translate it to that, and then you just need somebody to sense check it. That's the thing, is that you always needs humans, but the human role is different.
Yeah.
So, but I think, you know, I mean, I don't even know, but I think what we will see over the next 3 to 5 years will, you know, my kids coming out of university, it is going to be a completely different world.
Certainly. There really is.
Still need for just as many humans. I just think what
ways.
we'll be doing will be different.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. As we sort of mentioned, alluded to, it's the time optimization, it's the difference of that research tactic, and something else.
What do you guys think is the answer to that question?
Oh, it is a really good take. I think for myself, it's the administration roles are diminishing at a vast rate. So people who thought they were going to get these temporary jobs to platform themselves while they're at university or stepping stones between understanding different careers, that's going to be much harder to navigate. So you're going to have almost people with a certain level of experience or knowledge that they can't gain because they can't take stepping stones through companies in smaller roles because AI will facilitate that sort of positioning. At the same time, I do feel like it will come in a different way and be able to optimize training for certain individuals to increase their ability to learn much faster. And that means they can get to those higher roles in a different way. So it offers like a pro and a con there in the same sort of manner.
Yeah, well, like, because we've elaborated on our podcast quite a lot and delved into AI. So when you mentioned the training things, like that could delve into the sporting industry quite easily. The virtual reality, being able to train via that, understand reaction skills, things like that. Also in the healthcare sector, a lot of talk around potential robots coming in to do big pressured kind of surgeries or operations, whether it's heart, brain transplants, whatever it may be. So that potentially could be really interesting, but it's kind of scary at the same time.
I think that one of the biggest growth areas that we'll see over the next 2 to 3 years will be diagnostics.
Yes.
And you're already seeing it, like with the Nico scan in London. You know, like I put my name down for that a year ago. I've just got an appointment.
Oh, really?
And I'm dying to see it. Like you literally go in and that should be on every high street. That should be available everywhere. To go in at that price, And I think the diagnostics will become a huge part of the health industry. Huge, actually.
And it can one thing I've read about recently in the way that it can test certain medications partnering to fix certain ailments and things like that. And they're able to run 1,000 tests from a logistical and like a formulative like angle, rather than having to go through and do all these checks with different medications and testing if this can affect that and if this can affect that. The AI can look very much into the detail and run 100 different calculations at a time, which would have taken human interference much longer to do.
There's what was quite interesting is you can get your DNA sequence, and apparently you can plug it into ChatGPT and it would tell you exactly what you're deficient in or what you should look to eat due to your genetics, which is insane to me.
It's crazy.
And also recently I've had an issue with my toe.
Here we go.
So basically I tore my hamstring playing rugby, and I was walking around work and whatever, and I damaged my toe. I was like, well, what is this? And I was trying to get a GP appointment, couldn't get one. So I was like, all right, I'll ask ChatGPT. Finally found out I have this thing called like sesamoiditis, which sounds a lot worse than what it is. Basically a bruise on the bone.
Yeah.
And then I went to the physios and everything, and they said the exact same thing, but I'd already been doing the rehab for it because of what ChatGPT told me, and it was bang on, which is insane.
Yeah, it is.
Random but impressive at the same time, isn't it?
No, but I actually do think that because I think it's the way also that the NHS will have to go.
Yeah.
I think it's the way that healthcare will have to go anyway, because it'll all be about longevity. And I think the importance of getting the diagnostics, you know, my kids are going to live a hell of a lot longer than me, you know, because the development that we will see in health is going to be huge.
Astronomical.
Huge.
It's even on your like shopping and stuff like that. There's a lot of chat around the omni channels and having those mirrors that will be like your stylus, having the chefs that will tell you exactly what you should eat on your kitchen or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I see longevity being a huge thing around that as well.
Imagine you wake up in the morning and your virtual assistant goes, "Good morning, Sarah. Your serotonin levels are a little low this morning.
Certainly.
May I suggest a walk in nature?"
It's not too distant in the future.
No, it isn't, is it? Yeah, please take the following peptide.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like,
I mean, if you ever want to do the voice for it, I think you've got a knack for that. Just in case you ever if you don't want to do the business, I reckon that's a good avenue.
No one ever to someone from Stoke, but that's brilliant.
You can pave the way for them, honestly. A very different angle here. Managing time and stuff is obviously something we've alluded to already. You have done something that not many people have, and I think it's more so from a perspective angle. People just kind of put out there it's not possible. You've a mother of 4, married, done all of these amazing businesses, taken part in your investing portfolio over the years. I know you mentioned earlier how some people, they just have something within them. However, do you feel like that's a trait? Because you obviously didn't understand it early on in life, that you had this sort of this business angle there, but you did understand that you had this grit. Is it something that you feel people can attain at a certain stage, or is it simple, born with it, you're not born with it?
God, it's a question I've asked myself so many times because I have 4 kids. And they're 4 teenagers now, between 14 and 19. I think a lot of it's nature. I think you're born with it. Now, I think nurture and your environment can make it much more powerful. I think it can give you a reason to be that person, for sure. Like, it can give you a reason to fight. And I think it can knock it out of you as well, depending on, you know, your childhood or however you grow up. But I really do think that people are born wired in a particular way, actually. And I don't think I would have answered that question the same if you'd have asked me 15 years ago. Having had 4 kids, girl, boy, 1 a year for 4 years. So they're so close together in age. They're wired different.
Yeah.
Just wired different.
I think that's brilliant. I think that's a brilliant place to end, to be honest, before we should give her our special treat.
So we understand that there's risk associated with business. Okay, And for us, we have something that represents probability and risk, a bit of luck, which all we think takes part in having and running a business. So we made ourselves a deal, and this actually came from our college days as well. Sitting in the room when we used to go to Tesco's, we buy all of our good food for us. It was never good food. It was meal deals and all sorts. But while we'd wait around for everyone to go and buy their drinks and stuff, because we didn't have the money to do that, we'd go and buy ourselves a £1 scratch card instead.
Yeah.
Because it represented probability, luck, and we do it at the beginning of every episode. So we have no idea if you're going to be a winner or not.
Come on.
But I'm interested in your take on risk and things, and let's see if you have a little winner here.
Let's go.
Here we go. So I think we're looking for 3 matching.
So exciting.
So you might make yourself $1 million here.
I have to actually, I rub them all off.
You rub them all off. We're going to see if you've got 3 of the same number.
What a brilliant thing to do.
Oh, it's so much fun. We're either going to make $1 million or win $1 million. And we're just going to see which happens first. That's the whole plan.
This is something we do as a tradition on Suits and Sliders. We do it.
£2.
Oh, no way!
Yeah. Come on.
Every time. Have you scratched
Bonus as
this
well.
bonus one? There's like a little circle.
At the bottom corner. Just
So
The
this?
prize,
Yeah,
yeah, scratch
as
that.
well.
No, I can't believe it, man.
A winner. Oh my gosh. And you can keep that. That's This is just for you. What have we got? No. I think you've won a double here.
Have I?
You've won the fingers crossed. It's been so many months,
Another
episodes.
£2.
A £4 scratchy. Wow,
that
that's a
right?
big
Yeah,
win.
Yeah.
Do I scratch anything?
£4. Right, so
brilliant.
so every guest we've had on has won
Oh,
every
really?
You
time.
don't win very often.
Oh
Every
my
guest-
God. I
We've spent
love
over
this.
250 quid on scratch cards in total and come away with like niche. This is insane. I can't believe it. We need to stop giving them the good ones.
Brilliant. That's so good.
Well, what's your take on risk associated with business and a matter of luck coming into certain things? Like,
So
this is where the
I
symbolism is.
think probably half of everything we do in life is luck. Did we turn left instead of when we could have turned right, you know? But I think risk is really interesting. And I think risk from entrepreneurs has to be calculated. It's never blind risk. I mean, if it is, you're barking mad. Like, I think it's a calculated. The way I always do it, and not everybody agrees with this, but the way I see it, and I think it's possibly also because I'm a mom, but I always go, what's my downside? And if I can handle my downside, I just do it. And I think for me, the risk is in inaction. That's the risk. People just don't do anything.
Okay.
I can't
Yeah,
tell you
yeah.
the amount of people
Yeah.
I meet, and I'm like, why have you not just done it? You just need to do it. Just do something.
Yeah.
It's all about taking action. You can't do anything. Nothing is going to happen unless you do
Yeah.
it. And yeah, I think as long as you can handle your downside, just crack on.
So I'm intrigued to know, as you've progressed in your career and all the success that you've had along with it, has your risk tolerance kind of narrowed or has it gotten greater?
That's a really, really good question, because in theory, it should have narrowed, shouldn't it? I should be much bigger risk taker in my 20s because I've got a lot less to lose because I've got no kids, got no house, got nothing. I should be a much bigger risk taker than I am today when I've got more to lose. I think my assessment of risk today is so much more educated than it was then.
Yeah.
It almost can't really compare.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get out the question, but like genuinely, I think my ability to assess risk is pretty good now, actually. And then to go, okay, am I protected? What's my absolute downside here? And I'm a lot less precious about, like, for example, actually the i360 is a really good example of risk for me personally, because I live a really lovely life in Brighton. Nobody knows who I am. Do I get to keep the 50p as well? No, I'm joking.
It's actually
I'm
Tom's
joking.
50p, so you can ask him.
That's Tom's doing.
We didn't have any coins on us.
I'm only kidding, you get 50p. Yeah, so for me to take on the i360 was quite a personal risk, actually. Not talking about financially, I'm talking about reputationally was a personal risk, because it's kind of one of the biggest pieces on the Monopoly board, and it's not anonymous.
Yeah.
Like, I can't hide behind this. And in fact, it was very important to its success was to be able to go out and say, look, somebody local has bought this. I need you all to support me. I need you to get behind me. And it was the same with the journalist. I had to go to the journalist and say the same thing. So there is an element of risk. This fails here. It's public.
Yeah.
It's really public.
Slightly tarnishes your reputation, but yeah.
And then you're like, well,
Yeah.
can I live with it?
Yeah.
Actually, look, of course I can. Life's too short. Give it a go, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, there is. So I think you just assess risk with more experience, actually, as you
definitely.
as you
That's
get
really
older.
interesting. Shall we get into the quick fire questions? So we have
Right, yeah, go
10
on.
little quick fire
Oh, God,
questions,
yeah.
and then I guess we can call it a day. So I'll start off with number 1. Which has been your most enjoyable venture so far?
In my whole life,
Yes.
business. Bombay Bicycle Club, probably.
Cool. Right. What's more important to you, good systems or good innovation?
Ooh. Really good question.
It's quick
Oh
fire.
my
by the
God.
way.
I'm really sorry. Okay,
joking,
I'm
I'm
going to
joking.
say I'm going to say systems.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs. Oh,
So,
I did that one quickly.
You did
Well
that one
done,
really
Sarah.
quick. Here's a really challenging one for you. What was the best meal at the Frog and Roast Beef pub in Paris?
Hot dog.
Interesting.
Can't go wrong. What's the most important part of a pitch?
Energy.
And following up on that, best pitch you heard at Dragon's Den?
Craft Gin Club.
Favourite hobby?
Hiking.
And finally, most importantly, do you love what you do?
Yes.
Amazing. Sarah, it's been an absolute... Well, this could go on for hours and hours more. You might have to run it back at some stage, see if you win again on a scratchy. If you do, then we're going to get you to pick our scratch cards from then on. But yes, thank you ever so much for coming on. It's been our absolute pleasure to have you as our first proper feature for a Business Inside the Mind. Thank you so much for being here. Have you got any final things you want to say to anybody or advice you want to give?
No, but just thank you so much for having me on. It's such a pleasure to meet you both. Obviously, I've seen you before, but congratulations in your success so far. Good luck with the future. I'm going to really, really enjoy following what you do.
Thank you. And to you too. And definitely check out the i360 tower as well. It's fantastic.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Cheers.